Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Unless we're talking about internet dramas. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah. Alright. I'm going to preface this show, and I'm going to let everybody know. If you do not care about Nationals or Worlds or Rocktober, and any of the stuff around it, see you next week. I'll be streaming. Check me out on twitch.tv/startingoverpodcast. I got a link in the description and below. There you go. I'll see you next Wednesday during the live stream. Hit me up, boy. All right, cool. Let's get into business. All right. I'm going to start off primarily talking about what Zoran posted on Facebook and why it's a big deal. And so this cat named Bob Murdoch ended up becoming the new heroclix hero, mainly because he came in and said something on some forum, okay, and he got a response to I guess the national and world champion comment by Zoran, and Wesley Allen Summers from Team Stratagem was nice enough to sort of save this comment that was directly from Zoran. So I'm going to read it verbatim. Now, note, I'm going to say this because I am a journalistic purist, so to speak. I'm taking this as a straight copy and paste. If this is not a verbatim, then fine. I will admit and redact when it comes out like, yo, he didn't say this. Also, if we get something the next day, it's like, look, WizKids got hacked by magical internet trolls. Then cool. A lot of this just goes back away into we are in uncertainty land, which is really bad. But let's go ahead and go into this post, and it's in the Clickstoff heroclix podcast group. Check out Clickstoff in on Facebook. It's a really good group to be in to get some heroclix information. So here we go. This is directly from Zoran. I appreciate the note. It is refreshing to get a level-headed note from concerned fans, and we take these sort of things very seriously. Now again, I'm saying everything is sort of in context to another comment in which I don't know what he wrote. Okay. Unfortunately, Gen Con is not a feasible option as they are short on space, as they have been for many years. Now, anybody who's been to Gen Con knows this. Gen Con is a crappy place to play clicks. Great party. Crappy place to play clicks. Gen Con oversold status, space, / issues was the primary reason for us moving to Origins in the first place. At Gen Con, we were barely able to secure hotel space for our small footprint booth, let alone a large 1,200 person event. That's a little bit overestimating the WizKids scope, but okay. Despite lodging on the Gen Con system, despite logging onto the Gen Con system at opening time, our hotels are spread across the city, the nearest being 8 miles away from the convention center. And in con terms, that's really pretty good. Like, it's not walking distance, but in con terms, that's really good. On the move to Philly, now this is the first time we have any official level of confirmation where the hell Worlds is at. First time we find out on a comment on Facebook. Why wasn't this in a press release? And again, I'm recording this like 1:40 a.m., 3/29, 2018. Who knows? This could officially drop in the morning. I don't know. Okay. Strategically, we want to internationalize the world's event. As part of that strategy, we have to make some decisions on how to best serve an international event with an easy, accessible airport. We also wanted to hold Worlds in a nice venue and enough hotel rooms for our players. If you attend, I think you'll agree Philly is an incredible location. As the event organizers decided on timing for 2019 to 2022, it's important we establish ourselves as value partners. Now, again, they don't say who it is, but more than likely it's PAX. And that's going to lead into another part here later for me personally. Moving an event takes time and requires a transition, and given our plans for 2019, we thought it was best to start that transition and all the transition pains this year. I know the event clashes with rock events. I hope you understand that we can't plan around rock as it's not part of my business. Ding, ding, ding. Something that we said a while ago is WizKids has been roping dope in the rock, unfortunately. And they've been playing nice until they got a market lead, and then they went for the KO. And that's what they're trying to do. I hope to make it through this transition just as we did when we announced the move from Gen Con to Origins. In the end, I think most will agree that Origins was a great host, and it should be, it was a great host, and suited our event and the players. And yeah, this is bad. I think most will agree that Origins was a great host and suited our event and the players well. Despite despite internet opinions to the contrary, it is in our best interest to establish a great event for the players, just as we did amid the speculation and doubt when it came to the Origins move. Now, that's pretty much the comment. Now, you can check it out on Clickstuff. You probably already seen it on all the different comments that have been rolling around already. Now, why is this a big deal? First and foremost, I would say is this. Number one, moving to Philly, and this is where the first time we get a confirmation of this, is sort of crappy. I think that's we should have had something going along this lines for a while. They should have been just upfront and be like, look, it's in Philly. We can't announce the date yet because PAX has not officially announced the date. But we're going to be at PAX Unplugged, whatever. And that's our goal. We're going to start moving our branding with PAX. We want to expand market share in the realm of, miniatures gaming, and we want to dominate that market and get more people into the game. That's understandable. And I would applaud them for that goal. Okay. So when we start, rolling down, it's like, well, what you want to move everything into Philly. Okay, great. For your 2019 and to 2022, master plan in concert with your, convention organizer. Great. You could just say who it is, unless they want to be a silent partner, or you're trying to save that for some big reveal. If you're trying to save it for some big reveal, I'm sorry. We've already deduced, once you told us the location, what's going on. Okay. So there's the issue right there. But when we look at this key line, it says, I know the event clashes with rock events. I hope you understand that we can't plan around the rock as it's not part of my business. Now, here's a little, tidbit, guys. A little tidbit. When there were rocks going on during the the Salt Lake City Comic Con. Zoran went and talked to Howard to try to get those moved around so there would be a good attendance at the Salt Lake City Comic Con. Okay? When there were other rock events that were potentially clashing with the first draft of WKO events, Zoran politely asked to see if Howard could move his events around. Howard specifically has tried to talk to Zoran multiple times about when are your events so that he would not schedule conflicting rock events. And lo and behold, when you're able to print money, a la these WKO exclusives, and you get some turnouts for your $40 kit, and you're getting some upper hand, then you're like, this is enough windfall. We're just going to go ahead and slam the competition. And that's it. Now, some folks are going to say, hey, Dark Logos, this is just business. It's nothing personal. And I would argue, I would normally agree with that. Okay? Where I have a problem with is sort of the how we are being negotiated in this business transaction. So, everybody by now has already looked at the other, WizKids announcement, and they're talking about nationals and this, that, and the other. So let's break down why WizKids as an organization is completely crazy. It's completely crazy. And why this is really bad overall for WizKids. So, first off, you're going to go into Philly. And I did something very interesting. I looked at WizKids' reasoning for doing this. And when they mentioned the hotel thing, I was like, why mention the hotel thing? That's sort of stupid. And then I realized, well, you're in Philly. And your head-based operation is in Newark, New Jersey. How long does it take to get to Philly to Newark, New Jersey? And then you look, and you can drive, and you can do it in an hour and 37 minutes. Now, probably 2 hours if you want to specifically navigate through downtown. So we'll just say that. 2 hours. That's not bad. If you get on a train, it's an hour and 44 minutes. Straight from Newark, New Jersey, into Philly. Okay? Or whatever it is. With your Trenton line to the Northeast Corridor and whatever else. Okay, so it's a reasonable ride. Okay? Now, does any of the WizKids staff need to have any of their inventory there? Well, no, they don't. But from what I've been told is there is a storage. I think it's Alliance Diamond has one of their warehouses. Guess where it's at? It's in Baltimore. And Baltimore is a very short distance from Philadelphia. So, from a business perspective, you don't even have to pull stuff out of your local Newark warehouse. Everything's down in Baltimore. Okay? And since everything's down in Baltimore, shipping it from Baltimore into Philly ought to be really, really cheap. Like dirt cheap. Okay? So, right there, we already can see why they picked this location. And why they didn't pick, someplace on the West Coast or someplace down south or any other number of cons. Is because economically for them, they don't have to buy hotels for their staff. Their volunteers are still going to fly in wherever they're going to fly in anyway. Okay? And above all, they're able to keep their total cost low while getting major promotion. Okay? So we don't try to like soft shoe us like, oh, it's a great place to be, haha. This is a great place to be, when you're just picking it because it's good for business. Don't BS us. Okay. So when we look at packs and we start looking at these weekends, okay, and this is why WizKids is stupid. You're more than likely looking at the weekend after Thanksgiving. If you're looking at the weekend after Thanksgiving, ask yourself this. Do you have time off to go play the heroclix World Championship the weekend after Thanksgiving? Really? Like ask yourself, like you have the beginning of Christmas season, you have all of, your social responsibilities at that time. Hell, even for this show, I start telling y'all, like, man, I don't even know if I might be able to do a show. Like, I'm going to try to do what I can do, but, whatever, if you work retail, you're not going anywhere. You're screwed. You already know that point of the year, like from after Thanksgiving all the way to the first like week to 2 weeks of January, your job has you locked down like Kunta Kinte, picking cotton. Okay, you're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're upper management or if you're the grunt, mopping the toilets. You are stuck at work. Okay, because the quote Dune, the spice must flow. Okay, so the next thing that we have to really think about is this. If you are, the average family, let's just say that, you're a husband-wife team going to go see your in-laws bringing your 2.5 children, and you love playing heroclix, and you went to Rocktober, and you're trying to convince your wife, hey, let me take Tommy, and we're going to go to the WizKids World Championship because I have a paradise in a dream. Okay, got a paradise in a dream. Well, let's just say the wife is Susie. Susie's like, you know what, that's great, but it looks like it's going to be really expensive, and if you do this, you and little Tommy won't be able to get a Christmas gift this year. Now, most of you all would say, that's a good point, Dark Logos. That's a real good point. Now, some of you would say, I'm local, screw that, not a problem. But when you start looking at it from an international perspective, because that's what WizKids is doing, who's going to fly from the UK? Who's going to fly from South Africa? Who's going to fly from South America around Christmas time into the U.S.? Now, if you want to be like, hey, I'm going to try to get some cheap goods, and take them back into, my home country, and Merry Christmas to me, then yeah, good for you. But if not, you really got to ask yourself some major questions. Now, not only do we have to really dig deep into the logistics of it, and we're going to, we have to say is this. We're going to go from a championship in December, no downtime, and go straight into WizKids Opens in the beginning of February? Really? You want to push it and say, okay, well, we're going to push it back to March. Really? And I say this as a person who has done speech and debate. And speech and debate is, since it's a mental sport, mental exercise, it was a year-round thing, and you could tell coaches who have burnt out. And even as a heroclix coach, if I had not been involved with speech and debate, I would have burnt out a heroclix, just with the amount of tournaments that you go to be competitive, and have that edge, and the type of tournaments you have to have, and the type of preparation that you have to have. I would have burnt out. So let's try to put this in context. Okay, so get your giant schedule out. Okay, so normally WizKids releases a major set in September. Okay, let's just say mid to late September. Bad situation, early October. Okay, they also release like something like Harley or Joker's Wild in November. Okay, so you have your Rocktober, boom, boom, boom. Then the beginning of the next month, you have this new set. And then you have that last weekend of November, you have your World Championship. So you have this, nice fresh set to just destabilize everything like you have for every other World Championship. But again, I'm not WizKids. I like to think things through. So you're telling me, so in between Rocktober, which I dump money on, this new set that I dump money on, and then I'm going to go to Worlds and dump money there. I hate to use the old meme, but oh really? Like with the owl, like oh really? That's a lot of money. Okay, we haven't even gotten into logistics. Okay, it's a lot of money. So your wife is either, a divine being, and to let this go down, and if so, like, does she have a sister? Like for real, okay? Or because the amount of forgiveness and amount of grace that you're getting to go to Rocktober and then the Worlds, and then also get a case of whatever set and buy whatever figures you need. That's a ridiculous amount of money before Christmas. That's your Christmas gift, homie. That is your Christmas gift. Okay, so, when Christmas morning rolls around and you yawn and you go downstairs and there's not anything under the tree for you. No brand new TV, no surround sound. No new gaming system if you play that. No new games. It's just you just sit there watching the rest of your kids unpacking their stuff and be like, I got my Christmas 3 weeks ago. And that future self that's sitting there that Christmas morning is going to feel a little bit crappy. Definitely if something happens and funds run short, and that those kids didn't get everything that you wanted to give them. So, yeah, because, reasons. And that reason is a heroclix. So, let's sort of take this, another step forward and say, hey, man, wouldn't it have been better for them to find a better date? If they were going to go for the KO punch to Rock, what would have had to do? And the answer is simple. Be in September. That's truthfully it. But because they picked after Rocktober, if I was Howard, I would just keep the date and tell them, screw you. And I would also say I'm not moving any more events from now on. That's in all honesty. I would just say I'm not moving any more events because it's quite clear that we're not partners. You don't even respect us. Screw you. But again, I'm just some dude on the internet. So let's go back and let's break some other things down. So what I did is I started to look at the cost benefit analysis of going to Philly and going to Huntsville for Rocktober. Now, unfortunately, and this is the key thing, you would think with everything else that I said that this should be a windfall slam dunk for Rock. It's not. Okay. And because it's not a windfall slam dunk for Rock, I can't be that one guy. I'd be like, shamalaka ding dong, it's not. And so we have some honest conversations that we need to have. All right. So let's first break down flight. Okay. I'm using Kansas City because technically I'm smack dab in the middle of the country. Like literally, I'm in the middle of the country. Like you can get a map, throw it, try to bisect the center of it. I'm somewhere close to there. Okay. When you look at a flight from Kansas City, like, and I brought this up before with the Rock moving. You look at the flight from Kansas City to Philadelphia for the window that this event is most likely going to be in for the World Championship. The prices are out of this world. Out of this world. One person, not two, just one person riding economy class, all major airlines, is close to $400. And after taxes and fees, it most likely is going to be $400. Okay. And that's round trip. That's not one way. That's round trip. Okay. Now, some of you might say, well, yeah, I get it. It's football season. It's also your Christmas season, and people are traveling, so there's some markup. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of markup. Okay, now I am a national player. If you are an international player, how much more is the markup? Like realistically, and let's just look at it. This is March. This is March. Okay? So this isn't like I'm making these preparations in June or August. This is March. And I'm paying $400 for a ticket. Okay, so you might say like, all right, Edward. So Rock should be in a better place. Nope, I'm still paying $400 for a ticket. Why is that? Well, I went previously from paying around $200 for a ticket to about $400 for a ticket because it moved from Atlanta to Huntsville. While Huntsville has an airport, it is not a major airport. And that is a big deal. It's a real big deal. Okay. The amount of flights that leaves Huntsville, it's nowhere near as big as Atlanta. All right. And so costs are really, really high. Okay. Now, if you live there, you're probably used to it and you don't think of, the cost of being any different. But living in Kansas City and flown to other, major cities, I know that the cost can be way cheaper. Okay. So let's sort of go back to like my flight. If I booked a flight for Columbus, which I need to do, I can still get a flight for like $280. It's still a lot more reasonable than $400, about $400. Okay. You're talking about like round trip. Okay. I can fly into, I think of like New York for a lot cheaper too. Chicago, I can catch, multiple different deals getting there for like $115 in some cases round trip. All right. So now you can argue like, okay, well, Chicago's real close for you, Dark Logos. I'm like, yeah, and there's a couple other places I could fly in, at that rate. So going back, let's look at hotels. Okay, let's look at hotels because hotels are big. When it comes to like per night, if you want to be in Huntsville, you can like full on baller kitchen. This looks like I'm living in penthouse suite in Huntsville. It's pretty good. Like you can get up there. You can do the $200 per night thing if you want to, okay? But you're grade A pimping. You know, like you're living like the MTV Cribs life. All right, but most of us, you know, we're looking for that $75 and less. There's still a bunch of good hotels that you can get. Like there's Red Roof Inn Plus. You get a $52 a night. Boom! If you book like right now, there's a Days Inn and Suites of Huntsville, $59 a night. Let's look at here. Super 8, $47 a night. America Best Value Inn, $47 a night. Boom! You can be cheap in Huntsville. Okay, you can be, you know, pauper pimping. We'll call it that, pauper pimping. And like a Econo Lodge, $44 a night. Like that room looks good, but that's in Athens, so you're a little bit ways away. Athens, Alabama, not Athens, Georgia. But yeah. So you got some reasonably priced hotels in the area. Okay. Now, let's sort of look at how much you're paying for hotels when you go into Philly. Now, you do have some places that are $75 or less, but you're really looking at, during this period of time, mainly around $70 per night. Now, there's hostels, and I would really tell people, do not stay in hostels if you're going to a con. Like, you're bunking with a lot of people, and there's no way to protect your stuff. So I would not live in a hostel unless you have everything you own in a backpack. So, like, do not do hostels. Like, you think that that's like a good thing, but it's communal living with no locks and doors, communal bathroom, communal showers. Do not do that if you're going to a con. You're asking to be robbed, pretty much. So, but real talk, if we're looking at the amount of, you know, for the low cost and the pricing, you're not getting a lot of $75 per night or less. Now, if we look at $75 to like $124, because I am on Travelocity looking at prices, you know, you're going to be outside of town. You know, some of them are in town, but like you're paying about $100 and something a night if you're in town at minimum. Okay, yeah. So you can be in. Now here's the thing, people. I don't know where the hood of Philly is. I'm just going to say that really, really clearly. I do not know where the hood of Philly is. So I can be like, yo, man, this hotel is great. It's like super cheap and blah, blah, blah. Smack dab in the hood. Seen that before, okay? Now, again, I live in the hood. But hood tendencies changes from, you know, location to location. You know, you can say hi to people in my hood. And I have white people in my hood. And Mexicans. No, like legitimately Mexicans. It's not like a slur. Across the street from me, they're actually Mexican. Yeah. We are a diversified hood. Now, not all hoods are like that. Still, like if you're looking at cost, you're on average, if you're going to be somewhere even near downtown or reasonably distant, you're probably paying around $100 something a night. So who's winning in this battle? Rocktober or Philly or WizKids? In all honesty, it's about a tie. Okay. And the main reason I say it's about a tie is that I can be balling, like legit balling in Huntsville, paying $100 a night. If I get lucky and find a good hotel in Philly, I could be balling for $100 a night too. Okay. And if I'm outside of town and I'm willing to drive into town 30 something minutes or whatever, I could definitely more than likely be in a better hotel situation. Now, again, I don't know traffic. I don't know, like, hey, man, you're 5 seconds away from a train or other silly crap like that. Okay, there are options for all of that stuff that makes your life completely better. And if I get a chance, I'll hit up Daniel Joins. He lives in the area, and I might bring him back on the show, and we'll talk about navigating Philly. Okay, because everybody can't stay with Dan and his 2-year-old child and his wife. Okay, so that's not going to happen. All right, so when it comes down to it, is Philly really winning? Not really. And there's this big, huge caveat that comes into this, and it's called a nor'easter, like what the East Coast is dealing with now. I don't like traveling into certain parts of the U.S. From December to the beginning of February. Really, even halfway through February. I don't like traveling to parts of the U.S. And one part of the U.S. I don't like traveling to is the East Coast and north states above me. Okay, any state above Missouri, I do not want to go and travel there during the winter. Okay, and the main reason is just snow. You do not want to be snowed in. You definitely don't want to be snowed in if you flew in, which can legitimately happen. You don't want to be delayed if you flew in. And more importantly, at that time of year, if you get snowed in, that could cost you your job. I mean, like, let's be honest. For a lot of people, that Q4 is huge for their job. And you're already gotten, the grace of the Lord on high to get off that Friday to go compete. And then you're going to go tell me that you're snowed in and you couldn't get in on your early red-eye Monday morning flight so that you could get into work on time? Or if you're, the freaking midnight train to Freedom, out of Philly, into wherever you located. Yeah, that's going to suck. Okay. Not only that, there's another side caveat. And that is the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. So everything around wherever the Eagles Stadium is going to be insanely crowded and insanely expensive. Okay. Having seen things in Kansas City with prices and taxes and other crap go up when the Royals were hot stuff, I figured Philly is trying to do the same thing or is doing the same thing. So you just add that element onto it. So for overall cost, the cost of the Rock and the cost of we'll just say the Whiz Kids Philly World Championship is about the same. Rock, and again, I'm looking at this from perspective of flying, not driving, and literally your mileage may vary if you're driving, okay? So if I look at all the cost, I'm going to clearly say both tournaments aren't really winning over anybody from an economic perspective if you are not within driving distance or you're local. Okay. Now here's this huge deal. Rock does not have all of the environmental elements that Philly does. Rock does not have the time of the year problem that Philly does, and Rock for sure does not have the great massive family problems that you can receive from going to their event. Okay. So let's move on. Who's going to win this fight? And why? And I'm going to tell you the truth. if we look at it pound for pound, the last few years, Rock has been whooping up on WizKids. Just straight whooping up on WizKids. And the main reason that The Rock has been able to whoop up on WizKids is because, in all honesty, WizKids does not know how to run comprehensive tournament structure. And they still don't. They have no clue. Zero clue how to run a comprehensive tournament structure. Okay. Now, what has Rock done? They said, you played, here's these tier of events. You need these many points to win to get into this major event. There's scales into this major event. So if you didn't have a lot of time, but a little amount of points, you start here. If you put in a lot of time and have a lot of points, you start here. Boom, bang, done, finished. Okay, really clear from beginning to end. The moment you start your season to the moment you end your season, you know why you were there and how you got there. Okay? Now, go to WizKids. This proves to you it's like, it's like, what was that song on Critical Clicks? WizKids is brilliant. WizKids is brilliant. WizKids is brilliant. Except when they are not. And this is one of those moments. Okay, you're trying to pair up with packs. Boom. That's brilliant. But your tournament structure is complete crap. So I have to battle, go into these WizKids Opens to be first place or have lose to a series of other people who have already gotten their buys. And be up there to get my qualification, to go to a national event, to play into a national event, do well in that national event, hopefully, to then go to the Worlds event and then grind to get into the Worlds event. And people that didn't even attend the national event can get into the Worlds event. Brilliant. Right? Brilliant. So why would I, as a competitor who cares about one thing, and that's making my super duper man a character in this wonderful game of heroclix, why would I go to nationals at all, other than the fact to buy con LEs? I wouldn't. Okay? Because it's cheaper for me, even at maximum inflated prices, to buy all the con LEs or all the con stuff that I want. ID cards, Blackbird, whatever the hell I need to get. And then just save the rest of my money for the year and go to the World Championship, where all I have to do is some grinders, get lucky and get a PAX badge, okay, and compete and play. It doesn't make sense. Why, and if the world champion came from the grinders, what does that say about the whole rest of your circuit? Then you have the counter argument is that your pool for your nationals and your national tournaments are so freaking small because only the winners can show up, that unless the world championship is supposed to be the elite of the elite of the elite, it doesn't make sense why I've gone through so much work to do this, just to be a national champion. And then when it comes to the world championship, some guy that didn't even put in all the work I did has the chance of winning the world championship of heroclix, or the WizKids World Championship, because he was able to get an Origins badge. And he was the best guy to get a PAX badge. Really? That's stupid. That's so stupid. To quote Philip DeFranco, don't be stupid. Stupid? It doesn't make sense. So unless the complete structure changes, you then have to ask yourself as whiz kids, is the World Championship about selling con LEs? Now, if the World Championship is about selling con LEs and con exclusives and doing battle royales and stuff, okay. But if the World Championship is about the World Championship first and foremost, you have mitigated your population. You either they made the U.S. nationals worthless because, again, having to be, at the top of your national field to be in the World Championship doesn't matter because a la grinders. Okay. So you could make a tournament structure where you had to qualify in the Worlds, but that means that's fewer people that show up. And if fewer people that show up, that means that even though you've cut cost in some areas, you're still flipping a very high bill to be a booth owner at a PAX convention. It's really stupid. So you can open it up, but the real question is us as hardcore competitors is, really, is it worth being the national champion? And is the national champion just a different type of joke? A joke on us and a joke by WizKids. Joke on us saying, look, you'll battle it out and travel to all these little tournaments just to be the national champ when you could have saved a lot of time and money and you could have been the world champ. Or, from WizKid's perspective, like I said, is you don't know how to value tournaments. So, overall, this is ridiculous. And I was talking to my friend KJ before I recorded this, or started recording. And he said something that was great, and he put it out on Clicksoff. And he says, the biggest questions right now is, when is nationals? What days nationals are going on? Where's Worlds? And what do I have to do to qualify for Worlds? Those are the three biggest questions in the heroclix community right now. And somehow, the leadership of this organization that makes this game can't clearly answer any of those. So that's like a massive ineptitude. And I think that's telling. I think that's really telling. That something that for those who have been aware of the heroclix politics for years, are just finally seeing come to fruition, that in the end, Justice Aran and a lot of the WizKids staff does not really prioritize competitive heroclix, does not know how to run competitive heroclix. And in the end, I don't think they like competitive heroclix. They just don't. They don't care as long as we show up and do battle royales, because they make their money. They don't really make their money off of the events. They try to get us to come and say, hey, look, here's a world championship. But if it was really up to them, the current iteration of WizKids wouldn't even have a world championship if they knew they could just keep running battle royales. Hey, come get con exclusives, battle royales, all that jazz. Have fun. We'll play some heroclix. Have some side events. We'll have some judges. If knowing what I know now with the people that run this game, if it wasn't for the precedent of the other two iterations of WizKids, I don't think they ever would have had a championship. So, looking back at everything, how can things become better? I would love to say fire Zaran, but that's not a real solution. And I'm going to say from the Rock, looking at it from if I was running the Rock, and I would say looking at it if I was running WizKids. So let's start off if I was running WizKids. If I was running WizKids, I would have a comprehensive tournament structure. Just say, like, I would let everybody know what we're doing for 2019. Like, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, this is what your tournament system looks like. Okay? I would keep up the $40 kits because that's what's killing Super Qs. Okay? Is the WKO's kits are $40 freaking dollars. I might even double production on it to make people be able to buy 2 kits because there's not a limitation. Okay, and you don't have to guarantee judge prizing. So watch that eventually bite them in the butt. Okay, so I would keep that up. I would also be looking into any manner of setting up some type of like either regional championships, or I would be looking at and reevaluating how national attendance and the feedback you got at nationals, what does that mean? Okay, and this is again from a competitive level, not from a product level. Okay, I would then try to make sure that when the products land, that your Magic product windows that land, that they would land a month to 3 weeks out from any major tournament that WizKids ran, so that the people that compete can get the product, and that when you run battle royales using the new product, people would still want the product that you're using. That's what I would do if I was WizKids. But again, I'm just some dude on the internet that just seems blatantly too easy. Not only that, I would go on to every HeroClix podcast that would have me, and I would do a freaking world tour. And I would say, like, look, if you can prove to me that you get 1,000 views on at least 20 episodes in the last 6 months, I'll come on your show. So he for sure isn't coming on my show. Okay. So, boom. He's on, Clicked Off. He's on 2 Clicks. Zoran's on 2 Clicks from KO. He's on, a couple other shows. Any of the YouTube partners married with Clicks, boom, he's there. And he's going to have his list of talking points, and he's not going to answer anything serious or blah, blah, blah. But that's what I would do. Okay? That's what I would do if I was WizKids. If I was Rock, on the other hand, I would be in a very different mode. Number one, I would understand that the person that you thought was on your side is not. Clearly is not. And that the entire time, that person was gunning for everything that you had and was a parasite. I would first recognize that. Second thing that I would do is I would see where you're getting the most amount of profit margin from. Okay? That's the next thing. So if the tournaments are getting a lack of turnout, or better yet, fewer venues are not willing to invest into the Super Q function, ask why. Ask why. Is it turnout? Is it promotion? What is it? Okay. Like, I would look at, like, for the last 2 to 3 years, the amount of tournaments have been dropping. Why is that? I would just look into it. And even if you reevaluate the kits and everything else, what type of things do you need to have for value's sake to get people out? I would be, you have the website on Lucky Dice Games. I would be polling like crazy. I would have Facebook polls. I would have website polls. I would be polling like crazy. Like, what are you interested in? Why? Like, as a player, like, what are you interested? Why? Could you convince your venue to go to X, Y, and Z? Where are you located? How far are you willing to drive? Like, stuff like that, so that you can go in and make a PowerPoint and say, like, look, if and you, if you hold a tournament and it's around these times, I can tell you that from my data points that there are 25 players who would hit your venue. Okay? And so then you can start saying to them, like, look, you can't run a regional. There's not enough players that are going to come to your events. But there are enough for you to run a qualifier or a super Q or something like that. You know, anybody can always run a win a map. But then you would just say specifically, like, look, if all of them show up, this is how much you're going to make. On average, let's just say, you know, this many will show up. So your kit cost is base blank. Okay. And you can say, like, these are things that we recommend when you're in there in the store, like put on heroclix sales, put on merch sales, like all this stuff. You will clear out inventory because these people will buy stuff. And so your main goal is to prove to the stores at that period of time, like, look, if you put on sales, like the main purpose of this event is for you to move food, beverages, and merch. And you know you're going to have a population of 15 to 20 people. Look at them as specialty buyers. Boom. That's how I would be selling it. Okay? You can go from, and I know players aren't going to like it when I say this, reevaluate the value reevaluate if a brick is valid price support first place. This is the first year testing it out. It lowered the cost of kits, but just ask yourself, like, is this worth it? Next thing, change Brock points. Top 8, if I make 2 top 8s, I should be able to get in the quarters. Get in the semis. I'm good enough to be in semis. If I make second place twice, I'm good enough to be in finals. Make that more of a motivation. First place, boom. You know, like, you should say, like, maybe if I get a first place at Super Q, maybe I should be in finals. These are things that you have to start to question now, so that your goal as the Rock is to get volume. Your goal as a Rock is to get volume. Okay? Because the player base is forfeiting the convenience previously of able to run up and back from their hotel room down to the floor to move to play inside of Lucky Dice games. Okay? The next thing that the player base is sacrificing is now they have to have transportation costs. Even if there's a shuttle, there's transportation downtime. Okay? And they can't just order order food, go back up to their hotel room, you know, take a nap, you know, in between rounds if they're not competing or whatever. It's not as convenient. So you need to get bodies. Screw principles, get bodies. And those bodies will turn into profit. And you will stomp the fire out of WizKids. Because everybody, literally every body, singular body, that shows up for Rocktober is a 0.5 chance, like a 50% chance that they're not going to show up to Philly. Just being honest. Okay? If I was The Rock, I would be running. My boy KJ was like, run an online tournament every week, and I don't even think he could do that. I'd be running an online tournament every other week. And I would purposely be putting them out during WKO months. I would be putting out an online tournament every week. And then I would even up the prizes during WKO months, like double points and stuff like that. Why would you do that? Just make that stuff as antagonistic as possible. Okay? Because if someone says, like, look, there's a WKO near me, I don't think I can win that. But I can get on here and play Rock online and I have a chance of, getting a bunch of rock points, and it's double points tournament, and it's a bigger pool of people, and this, that, and the other, and yeah, it's on. Rock. The Rock starts winning. Now I know some of you might say, but Dark Logos, you do the quarry. You're going to favor the Rock. And I'm like, and I haven't really told anyone else like officially, and I've told some people. I've talked to Howard, but the quarry's done. So I really don't have a stake or a horse anymore in who wins this fight. And as a leader of a group, I have to look at both organizations. Okay, just with the players I deal with and coach. I have to look at both organizations and what they mean for my players. And as it stands right now, speaking as a coach, if I could have a one-on-one with Zoran, I would say I'm not going to curse. I was about to start cursing. But it's like, I would say, Zoran, stop playing with us. Stop playing with us. Like, be upfront. Tell us what you're about. Get your freaking act together. Get your stuff planned at a year or 2 year out. Oh, you can't plan a freaking 2 year out? I disagree, because I run a freaking organization with as many people as you have that you run in your little corporate environment, and I can plan 8 months, a year, and 2 years out. How the hell you can't? Unless you're incompetent. But again, I just see that just turns to a grown man fight right there. But but going back, I would be like, yo, get your stuff together. Get all your stuff in a row. That line that Morty says in Rick and Morty, it's like, get all your blank, pack it up real good, and get it together. Okay? And get your tournament structure together. If Worlds is a culmination, and it's about the best of the best players getting together, reflect that. If Worlds is about you getting paid and getting as many Connolly's out there, then reflect that. But don't try to soft shoe us. Don't try to soft shoe us. Don't try to win us over with a BS song and dance. Make WKO's top four. Sorry, not top four. WKO's is one qualification for every 8 people again, or a fraction thereof, because then it's about bodies, and then I'll believe you that it's about bodies. But if you want to put up a false flag of pretentiousness and saying it's about quality, when we know it's not about quality, it's about bodies, then take all that crap down. Readjust the WKOs back to the way they are, and you're already being profitable and winning. If I'm talking to Howard, it's like, look, we love the game, but the people running it ain't your friends. People running it are not your allies. They are in direct competition with you. Do not play or talk with them like they are your friends. Do not talk and interact with them like they're your allies. They are your competition. And fully, you have every right to ignore them, because they've decided not to make a mutually beneficial interaction. They decide to play for all the chips. You have something that WizKids doesn't have, and that is you have the favor of the competitive community. Run that jank. Run that sucker hard. Know that you only really have to appease the competitive. WizKids has to appease the competitive in the casual. Forget the casuals. They were never on Rock's side. Ever. Okay? Go after the hardcore. You don't have to make a big as profit margin as WizKids has to. Do what you need to do to get bodies. If that means moving it from Huntsville, and I'm telling you this straight up, If it means moving from Huntsville, but someplace closer to Huntsville where you can move inventory, and I know you have to double your staff for that weekend and that those are costs or whatever, you will get more bodies, flood bodies. Every body you flood in will kick WizKids in the junk, and they know it. They know it. Flood bodies make Rocktober the party. Make Rocktober the party. Get it in the hotel again. Make it so I go to my room downstairs again. Make sure I can go to the bar again. If I can go outside and maybe, walk 4 or 5 blocks, and I can get good food. And you can just go with the same logistics as WizKids. It's within an hour drive of my store. I'm able to move X and Y and Z product. It's going to cost me this much in overhead, but it's a far better party. It's a far better party. And when I talked with Howard initially on the concept of Rocktober, of it being like a casino type affair, that you're able to go to your room, come down, play all night, then go back upstairs to your room. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I've had some of my greatest interactions and conversations at Rocktober pretty much somewhere between the hours of 9 p.m. and 2 in the morning. Just talking like Wes Summers. It's like genius moments talking with him. Mr. Major, talking with him. Talking with Scooter. Just talking with people. Go back to the party. Like you have you have some time. Just to eat it. No one's bought. Everybody has the time blocked off for Rocktober. But if you can move it to an airport that's cheaper, if you get it back in Atlanta, or into, like I said, someplace within an hour or two of your store that's an international airport and that has cheap tickets. That's the biggest thing, is cheap airline tickets. You win. You win, Howard. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode of me intensely bashing WizKids, and also making comments about the state of competitive. I've been on my whirlwind tour on various heroclix podcasts, so of course it's appropriate for me to cross promote. You can check out the episode I was on heroclix Borderlands. Should be part 1. I don't know when part 2 is out, but part 1 is out. You can check me out on Mr. Clicks Fix. I was on his YouTube channel, so that is up. I don't think this week. In a couple of weeks, I should be on Dial H for heroclix. I was able to directly compete against Coulter, and it was fun. So he's invited me on the show multiple times. I just told old dude, just email me, and I'll come on your show. And then it took us to fight in utter combat for me to get on his show. So yeah. That's it. So check out those shows. I should be on them sometime soon. I'm not putting pressure on you, Aaron. But I can be on 2 Clicks again. Just saying. Anyway, I have to have a chance to take my foot out of my throat back on 2 Clicks. So yeah. Anyway, that's mostly it. So you can check me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, you do not want to deal with the banking collective of 20598, because if you default on a loan, you default on your life. Yeah, it's real out there in the galaxy. You can find out when every new show is up, and all that coolness. You can also email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Let me know what you think about this episode and the current, squabbling with the Rock and WizKids, or better yet, WizKids just beefing with everybody. Then you can donate to the show by going to startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And there should be a donate button there, but I probably should go check that website just to make sure it's not completely dead or removed by WordPress. Yeah. And you can, of course, check me on Twitch every other Wednesday. So this upcoming Wednesday, I should be streaming at twitch.tv/startingoverpodcast. All right. I'd like to thank you all for listening and being patient with me as I navigate down these economic times. And remember, we all have to start over sometime. Even you freaking Rock and WizKids, freaking start your stuff over again. Have a good day.